Morning, Terry.
Morning, Andrew.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, really good. Yourself?
Excellent. Yeah, very well, thank you. Thanks for joining me this morning. Obviously, here to have a chat about life at TGI Fridays and starting to open up the business again. Obviously, if we go back a couple of weeks, I know you launched a click and collect delivery service now, which is really the first sign of the restaurants getting back into action. I think I'm right in saying that that's initially rolled out to about 24, 25 of the stores that you've got in your estate. Do you want to give us an overview of really the thinking behind that and where you are with that today?
Yeah, I suppose the thinking started with how do we get back in the game? Obviously, this is, the word unprecedented is probably may have well been overused about this, but it really is. And so we kind of wanted to get our restaurants open in some way so we could provide a service and give Friday's experience and continue to do that while the pandemic is ongoing. And the easiest and best way for us to do that was to do a click and collect. I mean, we started by doing it and making sure that we could service our guests safely and making sure that our team, we could provide an environment that they could work in safely as well. So the number of stores that we started with was based on a test size that was big enough to be able to see what the want was from our guests to use but whilst also getting some good learnings for the next phase of rollout. So it's everything from working with the landlords to making sure that we can use the car parks effectively. And that's kind of where we started. Well, not started with, but that's what we did in regards to making sure with the single-use car parks, so we had control of those for when our guests were coming in and parking up and being able to deliver into them.
And what sort of response have you seen to that? Has it been pretty consistent across those sites, or are you seeing different patterns in different parts of the country?
Yeah, no, it's pretty consistent across the country, if I'm honest with you. I think when we opened up the click and collect in regards to the slots and when people could book their food, it was really novel because we'd never done anything like that before. So it kind of went off, like a racehorse, so to speak, and things have kind of evened out over the last couple of, when I say the last couple of days, because it's coming up for 2 weeks that we've done it. But yeah, no, overall sales have been really good. We prior to this, we would do delivery. So we'd never done click and collect or takeaway in this way. So how that's gone, it's blown us away. And I think we need to make sure that we can continue doing new and interesting things to keep our guests interested in us, but also making sure that the businesses take learnings from that and we can move it forward.
So you're obviously involved in the operational side of that. Now, in terms of how that works from a kitchen perspective, do the kitchens operate differently than what they would if the restaurants were open? Smaller teams and this kind of thing?
Yeah, so we've had to do some, when I say redesigning of the kitchen, it's more about reorganization of the kitchen. So we have 1, 2, 3 people, working near each other, but within not within the 2 meters. And then we kind of have 1 on the other side of the kitchen who will do the boxing. So 2 cooking, 1 boxing, and then we have our front of house team who will take it to the guests. Yeah, so I think we're quite fortunate in some ways that we had a kitchen which was set up for the screen. So you didn't have someone calling out the orders. The team can look at the screens, understand what they need to cook when, and then it comes together with the timings. So we already had in place a system that we kind of used to our benefit in this particular way.
Okay. I know you're expecting to roll out click and collect to more stores within the estate, or is it just not viable?
No, we'll definitely roll it out to a few more. As I say, it's not just about being able to open up their stores again. It's about how we control some of the car parks. We have such a diverse estate of restaurants where we, from city centre to standalone to then in kind of shopping malls and then leisure parks, and we're sharing some of these spaces with other people. So we've tried to do it, as I say, in a way where if we can have control of our car parks where we're standalone, it makes it so much easier for us, or where there's more space where we can kind of cordon off a part of the car park. You know, there's one part about us being open again and offering a service, but you know, it's equally important to us that it's safe for our guests as well to be able to come and use that service.
Sure. From a menu perspective, I understand that you, for the click and collect, you've got a menu of around 22 dishes. How does that compare to a normal restaurant menu, and how did you select the dishes that you would offer via click and collect?
Yeah, it's probably about 40% of our menu. You know, it's based on kind of everything that we know and understand. So we obviously wanted to have a cross section of food that our guests could enjoy, whilst, you know, our top sellers, because that's what the guests want. But we also need to make sure that we could do it with only using 2 stations. So we've closed one of our stations down in the kitchen to make sure that we can safely provide an environment for our team. So that was one of the things. And then it was kind of, you know, also what travels well, kind of what's going to maintain its heat, what's going to be easy to eat, because not everyone's going to, well, everyone's takes it home, but you know, when you kind of then plate it up again, you don't want to have too many different dishes. You know, some people are happy to eat out of their the boxes and the cartons, but some people want to plate again. So you have all of these things that you've got to take into consideration, and we'll learn and constantly, you know, what's traveling, how we package it up, and we'll probably we might not add any more dishes, but we might change some of the dishes to make sure we can continue to do and get and offer that service.
Yeah. Have you had any surprises yet, or lessons that you've learned from that side of the business?
I tell you that it's not a surprise. It's how good our teams are and how supportive they are of us getting reopened, and also how much initiative, or not necessarily initiative, that might be, how they've adapted to it and made it work, because they've gone from kind of working at peak with 10 other people in the kitchen to, you know, at what is the new peak with 3. So they're how the stations are set up, how we build the dishes where it was less than 1% of our sales in terms of delivery to now it's all of our sales, and you know, going from putting food on and preparing it and putting it on plates to putting it in boxes at that speed. Yeah, they've adapted really well, and they've really embraced the challenge. And I think our guests have done the same thing as well, because they understand it's not the same experience, and we've had to change some of the recipes slightly.
Okay. I know in the past you've spoken about the red mat theory at TGI Fridays, which is the concept of kitchen staff working to stations and facilitating kind of speed and movement of dishes and service and so on. Does that kind of concept lend itself to the situation you're in at the moment, or has it made it more difficult?
No, it's actually having something like that as a working principle actually helps you, and it's made all of us think in a slightly different way in regards to how do we do more of that. And, you know, I'll give you, you know, the fact that we now use 2 or 3 different cheeses instead of 7 means the team don't have to go and restock the station. So where we're using the same refrigeration and the same area of storage, but we can have more of the same product on there. So actually it means they have to move or they have to move less to do the sales. So that's quite a good thing. So we're just using more and more of the same product across the board. But yeah, we don't want them moving. We don't want them crossing over. We set up a one-way system where our kitchens allow. So you go onto line one way. You know, if you've got a crossover, you'll just the other chef will move off and then go back round, and things like that, which we thought may be a challenge, our team have embraced because they understand the importance of it. But in regards to how we produce the food and setting up for the sales, it's helped even more, because the psyche of being set for success, I suppose, is already there. So we didn't have to train that in again. What we've had to do is just talk to people about how we adapt to the new, you know, the 24-item menu instead of the 60-item menu, and how to use the space even more effectively.
I suppose one of the challenges is the fact that this is, you're kind of going into the unknown in a way. So you're sort of learning day to day how processes can work and how to make them more effective and quicker and faster and kind of all of those things.
Yeah, we are, and then we have, we obviously, as I'm sure a lot of businesses, we're having lots of calls, and we're using Zoom and we're using Teams, and it's a two-way. It's certainly a two-way communication. The teams, as in our stores, are telling us what's worked well and how we can get better. They've also, came up with some suggestions to make sure that we can deliver our food to our guests safely and with all of the correct information. So yeah, it's certainly not right with, there's not the path before may have been A to Z was in kind of, your 26 steps, but whereas now it's kind of, it's a little bit more complicated than that. And there's lots of different points and turn-offs, and there's lots of, kind of areas you go and go, okay, that didn't work the way we were going to, so how do we replan that? But I think it's making us more flexible. I think it's making us more adaptable. I think it's making us think outside of the box more. And I think from that aspect, I think when we come out of the other side, I think we'll be a more nimble business because you're just being challenged more.
Yeah. And outside of the click and collect, how has lockdown been for you? What else have you been working on to kind of fill the time, given that the restaurants haven't been open?
Yeah. Well, we were just about to launch a new menu, actually. Okay. And so we've gone back, and I think what's given everyone is some thinking time. So talk about launching a new menu. So we've gone back to that and, looked at how we take the lessons of we've learned over the last couple of weeks and how we can adapt that going forward. And, so there's a little bit about streamlining. It's kind of what will a new menu look like in, let's say July, August, when we will have half the amount of covers potentially in the restaurants with less team and, because of social distancing and click and collect and adding all of those kind of things back in. So how do we make things a bit more seamless because I think things like click and collect and delivery work, well, click and collect is definitely bigger because we've never done it before, but delivery will become bigger because people's choices, and if you want to go to your favorite restaurant, you can't get in on the time you wanted to through no fault of the restaurants. And if you still want their products, then I'm sure we'll all be providing that in a way that enhances your experience out of home as well as in the restaurant. So yeah, it's about thinking, planning, making sure that we talking with our suppliers, kind of supply chain, what we're going to get, talk about, just being a lot more flexible. The thing is with the brands and branded restaurants, I think you have an expectation that you will get exactly the same thing every single time. And I think what this situation's taught us is we need to be flexible, and we just need to, because you might not be able to get the same lettuce or the same tomatoes or the same onion, but it's about how you build the flavors and the combinations of that to make sure you still give a great experience to the guest in a different way. Yeah.
And where are you at this moment in time? Because obviously this date of July 4th is the one that the industry is very much working towards and hoping that's going to be the date when things can open up much more widely than they are now. Are you as a business, completely focused on that date, or are you kind of waiting to see what happens?
No, we're trying to, I think as soon as we were closed down, we were planning on when we could reopen and what was the quickest route to be able to do that when that is. I think all things being equal, we'll open the same time as we'll open up when we're allowed to open. I think that's the kind of plan, and I think that when we do reopen, it will be you'll still be TGI Fridays. There'll just be some changes that we've had to make to make sure that as I say, the business is there for our team member and for our guest, and you'll still be able to get your favourites. There'll just be some dishes which we can't do currently, or we won't be able to do at the beginning, to give us an opportunity to make sure we can do the majority.
Yeah, and how different should we expect the restaurants and the kitchens to look when the restaurants are back open?
Yeah, so the way from us, I think that it's easy to answer the kitchen question because we've already opened in those.
Yeah.
I think we're just going to have to use the space that we have and make it work for us in a better way. So in regards to how many people we can have in the building at once, and planning out our prep, mise en place, and how we get the station set, and then how they work from a restaurant point of view. Yeah, I think a good analogy would be like, what's the difference in supermarkets? Before, you could just walk in straight in, you go and pick what you wanted when you wanted it, and kind of we now are used to queuing up outside to be allowed in. I think that'll probably be a step. I think we'll only do, we'd probably only look to do bookings only. I would have assumed that would be everyone or where we can, because what you don't want to do is disappoint people and make them stand outside for however long. Shopping probably takes you 45 minutes to an hour now. So what will that be in a restaurant experience? So I think there'll be some changes. I think you won't be sitting next to other tables. There'll be definitely a gap. But I think when you're out there with your family or your friends, depending on the size of the groups that you can have, you know what's going on around you, but you're in that moment with the people you're with. So I don't think that will change. I think you can still have a great experience. It'll just be a slightly different one.
Yeah. Is there going to be more in the way of staff training? The chefs coming back to work. Are you going to have to go through a new training process for them to be able to operate in the under these new conditions?
Yes, is the short answer. I think we'll. We're looking, as I say, to those changes we were planning on making prior to this. We'll still make some of them, and I think if for the 24, 25 restaurants that we currently have open, if we open the menu bigger, they would still have to learn how to do or relearn rather, to do the dishes again. So yeah, we'll definitely do training, and we'll do training with the bar team, the host team, the waiters and waitresses. We'll make sure that our managers are fully on board and trained with any of the changes that we've got to do. Yeah, we'll just do that prior to, I would assume we'll do that prior to opening, obviously.
Yeah, there's been a lot. I think in the last couple of weeks, as more operators have opened up takeaway and click and collect and so on, we've been seeing things like signage on the floors, signage for the guests, people in serving positions wearing masks and so on. Is this going to become the kind of normal standard going forward? Would you think?
I think so. I already know that we have the signage on the floors, and we have signage in our car parks, and I know that there's kind of when people. So yes, there'll be some of that. I know that we've already on some of our restaurants we've already taken or looked at taking tables out. In regards to the PPE on masks, I think we'll follow whatever the government guidelines and science tells us. So at the moment, because we're not doing that face-to-face interaction, it's still an unknown. And I think whatever makes whatever the guidance is, we'll follow, and also making sure that the team feel comfortable to be able to do that as well.
Yeah,
it's easy for me to say. I went into one of the restaurants for the first time in 8 or 9 weeks on Friday, and you're seeing people that you haven't seen, and the first thing you do is, one of our kitchen managers went to shake my hand, and I went to do it, and then I stood back, and it's because we're so used to doing things a certain way, and then it's not natural to not have that kind of interaction. So already there's that stopping and thinking about it and then going again. But yeah, and whatever it takes, I suppose we'll do. But it's a great opportunity to retrain the team. It's a great opportunity to refocus and go again with what we're here for, and then hospitality, making sure people have a great time and in a safe environment.
It sounds like from what you've said, a service like click and collect is something that you'd like to continue even when the restaurants get back open, particularly if the demand is there. Will that need any kind of reverse engineering or redesign of the kitchens, because they wouldn't obviously never built originally to accommodate that kind of service?
The short answer to that is yes, and it's actually something what we're starting to think about, and I think there's and I talked about that, just from a productivity piece, making sure that we can service everyone in the right way. Yeah, then of course we'll look at it. I think it's making everyone look at everything at the moment, isn't it? And I think there's some equipment out there that can help us do that, and I think there's some processes, you know, with technology that can help us do that. So yeah, we've just got to be able to be smarter, and we've got to embrace technology, and we've got to look at equipment, and then it's almost flipped everything on its head. Where we were a restaurant that did a little bit of delivery, going forward, no one could, well, I couldn't honestly say what those percentages will be, but I think we need to prepare ourselves for that different world.
Yeah, very much so. Well, thank you very much, Terry, for joining me this morning. It's great to hear exactly what's going on, and obviously, you know, moving forward, we wish you all the best, and hopefully we'll see the restaurants open again soon.
Yeah, brilliant. Great chatting. Have a good day.
Thank you.